Have you ever wondered how sexuality is depicted in a dream? Freud would have you believe every dream is about sexuality, but I think that says more about Freud than it actually says about the language of dreams. If you want to find out, here are two dreams from Yvonne that both depict sexuality using different symbols, and we will see why the dreams say it is so important for Yvonne to fix the issues picked up by her dad at the very start of her life that impacted her sexuality and expression. Here's the first. I am picking up a new camera from a store for my brother, who then becomes my son, Rick. Now, all the names are changed to protect the guilty. Cameras are a reproductive device. They reproduce images of you or whatever you point them at. So they're a perfect symbol for the reproductive system in a dream, or sexuality in a dream, which is really what this is about, a topic we don't often cover. And so when we see Yvonne is getting this new camera, and we see she's doing it for her brother, it says that influences in the past from dad changed how she approaches the world sexually. And like if you've ever had kids and you have a boy and a girl, you see the differences between the boys and the girls in terms of how they behave and act and so on. Like my 5-year-old granddaughter was in the house the other day, and she dressed up in really beautiful clothes and then kind of did a catwalk in front of all of us, not telling us, hey, look, I'm doing a catwalk, but this is what she's doing. And we all had to notice and tell her how beautiful she was. The boys will never do that. You buy new clothes for her, she is super excited. She can't wait to try them on. Like, it's straight away out of the bag. I'm going to try them on. How do I look? Do I look pretty? The boys have no interest whatsoever. They want them just put away, and they don't even stop what they're doing to look at the clothes to see do they like them. They're just functional as far as they're concerned. Massive differences. So why do I say all that? Because this dream right at the start says she bought the camera for her brother. So it means she adopted the same approach to life as her brother, because that's what her dad wanted. And I spoke to Yvonne a lot off air about this particular dream. And dad didn't see any redeeming features in her behaving like she would normally. That is, as a girl would. He rewarded with attention her behaving exactly like her brothers, and approaching the world that way. And so it's impacted her. And here she is many years later, and the dreams are still showing, look, this has affected you at your core. Anyway, she says, my brother who then becomes my son, Rick. Again, different names. So it means that even today she has an adult son. Her view of the world, or her view of her own sexuality and femininity, is very much tailored to match what the men in her life want. The dream is a good bit longer, so let's continue on. When I arrived, the store is just closing, and I talked to the man into letting me come in and pick up the camera. I tell him I know exactly which one I need. I'm running down the aisles to find it. I call Rick to make sure I have the right one. The size of the camera is 5.4. So immediately we know from the size it's limitation. It's like a karmic thing. 4 is about limitation. So, but again, she calls her son Rick to make sure she has the right one. So she's checking in with the man in her life. Of course, it's going to be about dad. But even today, it still shows that influence, male influence exerted on her. And she's not exploring her sexuality. If we take like being in the camera store, if you're ever going to buy a camera, at least I'm techie, don't know anything about cameras, but if I was buying a computer, I would spend forever looking at all the computers because I know about computers. I'm going to be looking at that, really interested in all the little details and differences. And I have friends who are big into photography, and they would be the exact same with cameras. So you don't run in to buy the camera. So this is like, I got rushed at the start of my life, and I picked a viewpoint that my dad told me this is the one. And not just that, but I didn't get time to explore my sexuality on my own. And of course, when I say sexuality, that includes the sexual act, of course. But everything that we do in life has our sexuality at the core. So if I'm looking at the world, or I'm reviewing anything, or anything I ever do, I am a man first and foremost. And so everything that I see and do is filtered from the perspective of me being male. Everything this woman does and sees is filtered from the perspective of her being a woman. So she should have the time to explore that, see what it is, what is the differences, the things that I like, I don't like, and this includes world viewpoint. It's not just about relations and so on. But of course, that's huge in it. So we know that relationships are going to be damaged because you're going to end up picking somebody that matches the needs that you think you have because of the way dad set you up in life. She runs down the aisle after all, so this impacts marriages. Anyway, she ends up in the store being rushed and thankful that the man led her in and to rush around and grab a camera and make sure she got the one that the man told her she needs to get. Now, they're different men, but it's still all the same thing. The man is her dad, birth dad. The camera comes with an extra large, enormous loaf of bread, a big version of the one I just made in my new bread maker. Well, we can ignore that. We use symbols from our everyday waking life because they're handy for us to pick up and use in our dreams. But bread in this dream, and I did a whole show about bread once, but bread in this dream is about finances and money. So here she has this viewpoint that a male approach is the approach that makes the money. Now, that's understandable in our very skewed society. I find it amazingly crazy to think that, especially in America, there is such a disparity between pay between men and women. It should be illegal. You shouldn't be able to do that. I don't understand how there's debates about it and all that sort of stuff. It just is insane. A lot of businesses don't view the world that way and they treat their employees equally. But society doesn't, and women generally get paid substantially less than men. So here that is showing up in her dream, that a man's approach is the right approach because men get paid more. And dad has conflated these two things, that sexuality and ability to make money go hand in hand. So therefore, don't act like a woman, act like a man. Totally crazy. As I'm on the phone with Rick, checking to make sure I've got the right camera, a man brings over a fresh loaf bake for this camera and plops it in front of me to demonstrate how big the loaf is. Again, the loaf is all about the amount of money I can make. His is partially eaten. So this means that she's bought into this. She's eaten into this idea. The store is now a firehouse and all the men are leaving. I can see them outside through the window piling in a car. The car looks like a sedan, but there's room for and all 9 of them in there. I'm hurrying, trying to get out because I know they have closed up, but I'm trying to put on my socks. Socks and dreams, you'll often hear me before, are about relationship. Anything that you have to match is about relationships because you're looking for the perfect match. And this dreamer is, in fact, looking for a partner on her mind for a number of years. I have mismatched socks, so there we go. So the mismatch in relationships, the mismatch in the men that you pick, I couldn't describe on air how she describes her ex-husbands. But certainly it's not in glowing terms, let's put it that way. So I have mismatched socks, and that mismatch is, of course, because of dad's interference in her view of her sexuality at the start of life. And one is inside out. Okay, so you know you need to change something. Then my phone rings again and I'm trying to find it. It's inside the wool sock. They're driving off and I'm hoping I'll be able to lock the door behind me on my way out. So isn't this great? On the way out here is about birth. The dreamer has an older brother and dad wanted her to always be like him. And of course, she facilitated him and copied the way her brother is. Very successful businesswoman, very, very successful businesswoman, but not very successful when it comes to relationships and finding partners who cherish her for who she is. Why? Because she doesn't know who she is really at a core, at the sexual expression core. So that has to change. And then we have the phone being inside the wool sock. So again, it's like my communication in relationships, because the socks are about relationships here in this dream, are impacted by the viewpoints that I picked up. So it's one of those things. I remember when I came across the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and read that, it was like, this book is written for completely different races. And I completely understand, I think it's John Gray, why he gave it that title. Great title. An amazing, amazing book. It should be compulsory in the school curriculum, because it's not like relationships aren't a huge part of everybody's life. But I don't know if that's the book for this, but the whole point of life is for us to understand who we are and come at the world from the perspective of the avatar that we chose to be in this lifetime. Yvonne chose to be a woman, chose everything about the aspects of her that are there, and then decided, I won't be a woman when it comes to relationships and business and so on. Obviously she's a woman, but I'm making the point that her behavior is is more male than it should be, and that she needs to fix that, work on the issues that Dad gave her. Thank you, Dad. And that's going to change the world for her, change her ability to attract men that love her for who she is. And she had 2 dreams. Later that night, she has another dream. She says, my daughter Jade, names again changed, was in her room and I was in mine. There is a loud clicking noise out in the living room, and Jade said, oh no, and runs out there. So so she's in her house, she's in one bedroom, her daughter's in another bedroom. Of course, bedrooms are about sexuality. So it's like she keeps to herself. She and her daughter are doing the same thing. Not a good thing to see in a dream. She has gotten the cat back from the shelter and brought it home. So Yvonne had a cat and returned it to the shelter because it wasn't a social cat. It wanted everything that you gave it, but it didn't want you to pet it or pick it up or do anything like that. Again, because it was mistreated, badly treated. And she kept it for a number of months and then brought it back to the shelter. But she felt terribly guilty about that. And so I've often said on the show that cats are about guilt. And the reason is because the cat o' nine tails, the whip, was used to purge sailors of their sins. And it seems kind of crazy to some people, well, because I never sailed, etc., etc. It still has that archetypal meaning. And you did in past lives interact with a lot of the symbols that you use and hold for their normal standard meaning, including this one. So, but here we know the cat, and I asked Yvonne about this. How did you feel about bringing the cat back? And the guilt was enormous and still is enormous because she wanted to save the cat really and give it a nice home. So it's really about guilt for her. She says, I thought maybe the cat had gotten into something. Jade opens my door and I wanted to say, don't let the cat in, but I had no voice. So this is when it comes to my sexuality, I have no voice because it's in her bedroom. And don't let the cat in is like, don't let my animal side get in here. So our instinctive, natural nature, we often forget that we're humans. Animals on an animal planet. Humans are animals. And the bottom 3 chakras are all about the animal world, and the top 3 are all about the spiritual world. But we often get confused and lose our connection with our animal side. And here the connection is lost at an early age because it's a kitten. She says cat, but it's really a kitten. But we know from the last dream it's before she's even born. So she tries to keep it out. And she has no voice. So it isn't how, she can't express herself. Yeah. I can move my mouth, but no sound comes out. Strangely, she hears me anyway. The cat climbed on my bed. It had grown and matured since I had seen it last, and it was pregnant. So obviously it doesn't matter if you're going to pick up certain issues around dad or around sexuality based on things that happen in your life. But the dreamer has kids and so has been pregnant, and that is going to, the idea there is it would really force you to really look at your own sexuality in a way that has nothing to do with the male influence of dad, because he can't have any idea of what it's like to go through pregnancy. It's also good to see pregnancy in a dream because it means something is about to change for the dreamer. Anyway, so strangely, she hears me anyway. So it was pregnant. Then the cat was a girl, some sort of refugee or migrant. So again, this is like when I was a girl living in my house, it was like as if I was a migrant or a refugee. I had nothing in common with my dad and brothers. And of course, the dreams exaggerate, but the point is to say that I wasn't allowed to express my culture, with my culture being me as a woman, or as a brand new woman, exploring my understanding of my life and myself through my who I am as a young girl. So she wasn't, or didn't feel allowed to express that based on what we see in the dream here. She says, I was trying to make her welcome. She looked a little rough, like she hadn't been able to shower. So this is about clearing the issues, cleansing those issues picked up from Dad. And of course, you had it rough too. That's the point of there. I commented that her English had improved a lot. She used to not be able to speak English at all, of course, because she was a cat. This livened her up and she became chatty. She had some sores on her face. She was sitting on a twin bed as we talked. So again, it's about expression of yourself as the sexual being that you are. Given, like I said before, everything we do in life includes coming at life as the gender that we are. So if I'm having a conversation with men, it's going to be different from the conversation I have with women. We just automatically filter what we say, how we perceive various different things based on our gender in relation to other people's gender around us. So women talking together will talk differently from when they're talking, the same women are talking if there's a man present in the group, or if there's an older woman in the group or an older man. It's just huge in how we are and how we're impacted by our gender in every single thing that we do. So if your gender is obscured based on the way Dad treated you at the start of your life, then this is something major that you need to look at and heal, because it's going to improve your life enormously and it's going to help you understand who you are, which is really good. I really like this dream. So thank you for both of those. Yvonne, you need to cut the ties with Dad because he made you feel guilty when it came to expressing yourself. You did it. You just listened to a clip from the Dream Interpretation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you want to listen to the full episode, go to the dreaminterpretationpodcast.com, where you can also find all past episodes and how to submit your dream to the show. Thank you for listening.